What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Engage 8 podcast. I'm your host, Zach, with my two co hosts, Josh and Mike. Today, we're going to be recapping the second round of the NBA playoffs and then talking a little bit about the conference finals, both the East, West, and, well, those are it, actually. Josh, you want to get us started?
Yeah. So out of all the conferences to choose from, I guess I'll start with East. With the
All two
Celtics
of them.
and the Cavs. Yeah. Celtics won the series in five. We did not have any Donovan Mitchell for the past, I believe, two games, the last two games of the series. Porzingis did not play for the Celtics for the entire series. And although the Celtics did lose this in five, they did compete in the series, especially in the games with Donovan Mitchell. They were in a lot of these games in the second half. Even the last game they lost. They lost by 15 for the game. And believe at half they were only down like six or something. Like they were in this series even without Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland though is just he just lost it this playoffs. He was not good at all. I know he missed a lot of time during the season, but in the playoffs he was really bad. In game five, he was 4 for 14 in 44 minutes. Just really terrible play from him. And overall, I'm not really sold on this Cavs team going forward. I know they didn't have Jared Allen. I know Donovan Mitchell missed some time. Karis LeVert didn't play that last game either, but we'll see if they can hold on to Donovan Mitchell. I know they want to extend him for like 4 years, 200 something mil. Today they fired JB Bickerstaff this morning. So yeah, we'll see what goes on with them, but I think what you saw from Darius Garland in these playoffs is definitely concerning.
I completely
Fuck.
agree. I was actually going to bring up the Bickerstaff firing as well, but Celtics made quick work of an injured Cavs team. They get to rest a little bit before the Eastern Conference Finals, which kicked off a couple nights ago, and they play Game 2 tonight. We'll get into that more later. But Donovan Mitchell, with him not being healthy and then Darius Garland not being able to step up into that lead scoring role, it's 100% concerning. You have to find a viable second option, even if your first option is playing, because in the playoffs the whistles get a little bit tighter, defense gets stronger, and you gotta find other ways to score than just chucking up shots with your primary guy. A team like the Suns, for example, they've got two of those guys who can be that first option if the other one doesn't have it going. But if the Cavs are only having Donovan Mitchell, who's been fluctuating anywhere in the top five shooting guards in the NBA, you have to have a viable second option behind him, and Garland just hasn't been that. But the Celtics, Tatum ended up scoring 25 in this closing game. There was no Porzingis for I think most of the series. Horford was very reliable the entire series, so if he continues to be very reliable and a very impact player, they can go pretty damn far in the rest of the playoffs. But Celtics, they just take care of business.
Yeah, once we saw Donovan Mitchell go down, we pretty much knew this series wasn't going to last much longer. The Cavs didn't get a win after that. Like you guys said, Darius Garland just is not the superstar he was kind of like he was going to be when he was an all-star. Just doesn't really have the confidence in his game right now. He only averaged 16 points, 30% from three, 40% from the field. It's unfortunate that he's really kind of had this sort of fall off. Evan Mobley tried his best. He had a good series. He averaged 21 points. He played well, but the Cavs team was just completely outmatched by the Celtics. They're just better. They didn't need Kristaps at all. Luke Cornett has been pretty solid for him. Like you said, Zach, Al Horford's been very good. They just got too many guys. It's hard to guard all of them. Obviously, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White's been good. Drew Holiday is just a solid player, great defensively, and Peyton Pritchard is very good as well. They just have so many people they can throw at you. They're deep and they're just better than the Cavs. It wasn't really. I didn't see this going past five, regardless.
Moving on here to Pacers Knicks. The Pacers win this in game seven. In game seven, we saw OG Anunoby only played 5 minutes due to injury. Brunson, 29 minutes, broke his hand in the last game. Honestly, OG Anunoby going out kind of just killed this Knicks team. They weren't really able to recover on the defensive end at all after he came out of the lineup. Of course, he is the best defender on this team, but you could really see the difference. They played so well without so many of their best players for a lot of this season that I was fooled to believe that they would be able to take care of the Pacers without having. There's another blown lead after hitting a grand slam back-to-back games. Love to see it. But the Pacers, I thought they'd be able to take care of them without OG Anunoby, but they were not able to do so. Halliburton played much better in the back half of this series than he had in the prior series and the front half of the series. If he continues to play well and can somehow avoid this just drastic fall off since the play-in tournament. He's just not been good at all. I think his average went down to like 20 points after the what's it called, the in-season tournament. Did I say the play-in the first time? I meant to say the in-season tournament. But yeah, he was able to play great on the back half of the series to get them this win over the Knicks. I wish that the Knicks would have been able to stay healthy, so we could have seen an entertaining Game 7 here. But sadly, we did not get that with Brunson breaking his hand. And once that happened, Brunson's been carrying this team for so long, it was pretty much over. But congratulations to the Pacers moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
The story of the series, like you mentioned, is definitely going to be the Knicks just not being healthy. They're missing Julius Randle for a good portion of the entire year. Anunoby missed quite a few games and only played 5 minutes in this game. Brunson, like you mentioned, Josh broke his hand, and Josh Hart, he's been banged up pretty much the entire playoff run, just with playing 48 minutes a game and just wear and tear in general. But a couple pluses you can take from this if you're the Knicks, you make it to Game 7 of the second round against a very fast and energetic Pacers team that is making it to the Eastern Conference Finals basically on one leg. That's very impressive, and you are starting to learn things about some players within your lineup and some things that do and don't work. Like Dante DiVincenzo, he has shown up quite a few times in this playoff run, so that's definitely a plus. Jalen Brunson, he's proving to be a very solid number one option. You put another guy next to him who can perform a little bit better and be a reliable number two option, you can go pretty far. And Anunoby, who's a great acquisition at the deadline. Josh Hart, I mean, you've said it multiple times, Mike. He puts his heart on the line for this team all the time. They've got some stuff to work with in New York, and they've got a bright future. But on the other hand, the Pacers, they've been a team I've been very interested in watching the entire year. Halliburton, like you mentioned, Josh, has been very up and down since that injury and the play-in tournament. But adding Siakam near the trade deadline, Miles Turner being a solid defensive presence and being able to stretch the floor the way that he does, not having Benedict Mathurin for a good chunk of the year and not at all during the playoff run. This team has a lot of interesting qualities, and unfortunately, this solid playoff run is going to be shadowed by, they faced the Bucks without Dame for a few games and Giannis the entire series, and then they faced a very unhealthy Knicks team. But they very well earned their place in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mentioned this to you guys before the show, but I just hope they don't turn into the Atlanta Hawks of 2021 when they faced the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, where they kind of just fall off a year or two down the road after kind of peaking at this moment in time. But props to them. They were in a very close game a couple nights ago that we'll get into later, but this Pacers team is very fun to watch.
They are fun to watch, and you have to play who you play. You don't play it hypotheticals. The other teams were hurt. The Knicks just weren't a really deep team. Yes, they missed Randall early in the season, and Anunoby got hurt this series, but they really didn't have much of a bench to replace those guys with. Alec Burks stepped in. He played all right, averaged 14 points. But he's not OG Anunoby. He's nowhere. And Josh Hart had played so many minutes. Miles McBride was playing a lot. The Knicks just weren't deep enough in the end. I said the longer the series went on, I feel like it was better for the Pacers. Just the opposite of what it was last round with Giannis and the hurt Bucks. And they end up winning the last two games, win it in Game 7 in New York. The New York fans showed up. They were great. You saw Stephen A. Smith walk into the arena like it was time to actually step foot in the game, like he was playing. Didn't work out well for him. Spike Lee as well. Pacers just beat him. Obi Toppin was pretty good all series. They're just such a deep team. They have so many guys. Ben Shepherd has been great this playoffs. TJ McConnell was phenomenal in Game 7 as well. Nembhard, Miles Turner, they're all very good. Halliburton played great this series, I think, just considering how he had been kind of late in the season. 21 points, 53% from the field, 44% from three. He was good, but did he make an All-NBA team? I think he did.
Who, Halliburton?
Did who?
I think Halliburton made an
I think he was
All-NBA
on
team.
the
Third
third
team.
team.
Yeah, which I think he's due for a contract extension this offseason.
He's lucky he got that, though.
Yeah, and allegedly that kind of takes them out of being able to re-sign Obi Toppin. So that could be a big loss for them in the offseason. But they're still playing right now, so they got to worry about the court still.
All right, moving on here to the West. Another 6-game series here. Thunder, or I guess the only 6-game series here, but Thunder and the Mavericks. Thunder, you really hate to see it. I wanted to see the Thunder win this series. Although sometimes they come off as cringy to me, and the whole post-game interview shit isn't as cute when you're losing. but still, I'd rather see them win than Luca. Regardless, though, Shea played great in this series. He wasn't phenomenal in that first series against New Orleans. He came back and he was really, really good this series. Jalen Williams, although he was good in game 6, he was not really good for the first 5 games of the series. And that was a big problem for them. He's been their number 2 for most of this season, and he wasn't able to play like a number 2 for a lot of the series. But I just want to give props to Dallas's defense. They have completely stepped it up to the highest degree in these playoffs. I think they were averaging giving up like 115 points per game in the regular season. They're down to like 103 in the playoffs. These past few games for the Thunder, who are a great offensive team, they did good in game 6, but they had 116, 92, 100, 101, 110. They weren't being able to score the ball to the best of their ability as they were in the regular season, and that's just a testament to this Mavs defense, who at times, especially in the regular season, was not good. But the additions of Gafford and Lively coming out and playing great in this series have really been phenomenal for them, and they've been able to lock in on the defensive end. And we know what kind of prowess they have on the offensive end with Luke and Kyrie. So if they can continue to keep up this defense, I could see them winning the NBA Finals. Um, if I had to make a prediction, oh, we'll get to that later. But the Mavs are playing. They've shocked me with how they've been able to guard, and I'm interested to see if they're going to be able to continue to guard this well in the Western Conference Finals and potentially the NBA Finals.
Yeah, you kind of covered all the Maverick stuff I wanted to talk about, so I'll kind of focus on the Thunder. There are 2 main takeaways you got to take away from this series if you're a Thunder fan. One, SGA can very well be the number 1 option on a playoff team and a contending team. He showed up a lot this season in the playoffs, and especially in this game 6, 36 points in 43 minutes played. He was great. In Chet, he can be an anchor on the interior within a championship team, and him being able to stretch the floor on offense, that is fantastic. And this was also his rookie year, or technically second season, but his first full season in the NBA. He was beyond impressive. And if Wemby didn't exist, he probably could have won Rookie of the Year. Now, around those two, you kind of have to make a lot of cuts because Josh Giddey, regardless of him getting 5, 10, 15 minutes a game, that's 5, 10, 15 minutes too many. He should not be playing on an NBA team. He just is not good. And a couple days ago, I saw a mock trade for the Bulls, actually, Vooch for Giddey straight up, and I almost threw up. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want either of them on my team, but it was just bad. So the Thunder have like, I think 35 million dollars this offseason in cap space. They have a lot of time before they have to give Shea a crazy big, oh no, he just re-signed an extension, before they got to give Jalen Williams and Chet extensions, and then they can kind of build around the youth of their second and third options while Shea is getting all that money. They can go out and get maybe a solid second or third option, depending on what you think of J-Dub, and then maybe another guy to work alongside Chet or behind Chet coming off the bench to really help solidify the paint defense and just help rebound in general. Because Jalen Williams, the other one, is not the best 5, and he's a little too slow to be a 4, or at least that's what I've heard from some sources. So the Thunder have a lot to look forward to in the future, but right now you just got to be happy that SGA is that guy, and Chet, he's maybe a level or 2 below Wemby, but he's still pretty damn good on defense as well.
Yeah, the Thunder just didn't have enough to really keep up with the Mavericks, PJ Washington, Luca, and Kyrie trio. PJ Washington has been phenomenal so far in the playoffs. He's been one of the best players, or maybe the second best player almost on the Mavericks. Averaged 17 points this series. Kyrie only averaged 15 points this series, and the Mavs were still able to get it done in 6. Luca averaged 24.7. Shot 44% from the field, 39% from 3. He had struggled early in this series, but he seemed to figure it out a little bit later. Really, for the Thunder, it was give Shea the ball and try to let him do as much as he possibly could. He was phenomenal. Averaged 32 points throughout the series, shot 55% from 3, which is very good for him, and 50% from the field. He tried his best. J-Dub didn't have enough to really get it done as the second option. He averaged 17. Same with Chet, averaged 15. Lu Dort wasn't able to continue all series to stop Luka completely. He's great defensively. He wasn't the best offensively. Only shot 30% from 3. Could have been better, but the Thunder are still a young team. They still have a lot to look forward to. They were the 1 seed as the youngest team in the NBA. I'd expect them to be back competing for that next year. And if they don't get it again, I wouldn't be shocked, but they will definitely be competing for it.
A couple more things I wanted to touch on for this series. Casey Wallace was phenomenal for the Thunder. I think he's going to end up being a great bench piece, if not a starter for this team at some point. I think the having him makes you comfortable with losing Lou Dort because maybe Dort's a better defender, but Kaysen's still a massive plus on defense, and he's an effective offensive player. So I think you have the versatility there to move forward with losing Lou Dort, and you'll be fine. For Luca, I mean, he played, I guess, all right, but his numbers in the playoffs just have been insane. How bad he's been compared to how good he was in the regular season and previous seasons. In the regular season, he averaged damn near 34 a game and 10 assists. He's averaging now 27.3 a game, which is still pretty good, but his shooting efficiency has gone from 48.7 from the field to 42.3, and 3-point percentage has dropped from 38.2 to 30.1. So he has not been efficient at all in the playoffs so far, and I cannot stress enough they are not winning the NBA Finals unless he figures that out. There's just no way that they can, unless Kyrie goes and gets you 50 a night, which maybe that does happen, but we haven't seen that so far. So, moving on to our last series of the second round here, the Timberwolves beating the Denver Nuggets in 7 games, 2 games. I don't know where that came from, but
A new fastest series ever.
yeah,
Yeah,
A
you
couple
said
weeks
in
ago it was
3. Yeah, you said last week in 3.
yeah,
Now
I
they got
did
him in
say 3.
2.
Wow, if I get the 1, I don't know, but Timberwolves.
We already have the NBA Finals locked in now. I think we might have to double check
What do you mean?
because game 1 for both series has been played.
Oh,
already.
true. Damn. All right. Well,
Oh, the Mavs can win it, I guess.
yeah, fuck, I guess they can, but
Do they even play that one? Just rock, paper, scissors for it.
I don't know. Let's give the Mavs time and Luka a chance to expose himself even more, even though the lack of criticism has been astonishing. But anyways, Timberwolves Nuggets. Timberwolves win this series in 7. The Nuggets, I believe, were up, what was it, like 15 at half in this game or something in game 7. They end up losing, scoring 14 points in the third quarter, 23 in the fourth, losing 98 and 90. Just insane to see the Nuggets, who looked like a dominant, untouchable team for an entire playoffs, all of the first round. And then in that middle part of this round, when they won 3 games in a row to take a 3-2 lead, they looked like, all right, these are the Nuggets that we know. They're untouchable. They have a formula to win. And they just couldn't follow that formula because Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. couldn't get it done. One of them needed to get it done every game, like we said. They couldn't. Jamal Murray played pretty good in game 7, but outside of that, and then the couple games they won, he had a lot of bad games this series. He's the reason why they couldn't take one of the first games at home or take, what was it, game 6 in Minnesota where they lost. That was due to him. And it just can't happen. He's their clutch playoff performer. He's the reason why they were able to have such a far bubble run. He's the reason why they were able to win one of the reasons why they were able to win the title last year. And he wasn't able to get it done. The Minnesota Timberwolves, their defense just locks in and figures it out. I mean, we'll talk about their game against Mavericks here in a bit, but their defense they were able to make Denver uncomfortable for long periods of time and force them to be inefficient. Denver's offense is just so efficient and has been for the past few years now that the only way to stop them is to be super physical and disrupt them. It's the same reason why the Suns couldn't beat them last year, even though the Suns had 2 games where they shot wildly efficient and got to win those 2 games at home. They couldn't disrupt them enough defensively, and it's really tough to go bucket for bucket efficiency-wise with the Nuggets. Timberwolves were able to disrupt them defensively and score the ball at times, even though, I mean, everybody's king Ant in game 7 was 6 for 24 with 2 for 10 from 3 with 16 points. But regardless, it doesn't matter as long as you defend. And the credit I will give to Ant, even though I love watching him play, I feel like he's getting a media pass, him and Luka. But regardless, he was phenomenal defensively this series and a big part of why they were able to win.
Yeah, and in this game 7, I'm kind of going to use your words, not against you, but just in my own little spiel here. The Nuggets got no help in this game 7 aside from Jokic and Murray. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. combined for 11 total points when they played 42 and 34 minutes apiece. So Jokic and Murray combined for 69, but it just wasn't enough because they didn't get help. Nobody else scored in double digits. They had 4 guys play 40 plus minutes and they just got no other help. The Timberwolves defense really, they forced the other guys in those crunch moments to try and step up, and they didn't. Jokic and Murray, they did their jobs. All credit to them. They're a great duo, probably one of the better playoff duos we've seen in recent memory because of Jamal being a fantastic playoff riser and Jokic just being probably the best player on the planet. But this roster is still very good. It just happened to be an unfortunate game 7 where they didn't get the contributions from elsewhere. Now, if you're looking at the Timberwolves, with Ant being as inefficient as he was in this game, yet you still win by 8 against the defending champs, that's crazy. That's crazy impressive. You have I think it was McDaniels. Yeah, McDaniels and Cat both had 20 plus. Gobert, he was doing his thing on the defensive end. And Mike Conley, he was just doing his Mike Conley stuff, I guess. But the entire team as a whole, they, like you said, Josh, they locked down when it mattered, and they won one of the most important games of their entire season. Now, in this next series, the defensive focus is going to have to shift a little bit because of the personnel they're guarding, but there's a lot that goes into this team, and they executed on the defensive end.
They did. They held the Nuggets to only 97.6 points per game this series, under 100. They showed a stat, and during Game 7, I think the Nuggets were at the point 0-11 when they didn't score 100 points, and 5 of them, I think, had come against the Timberwolves. They didn't score 100 in Game 7, and they ended up losing. They played, like you said, Zach, Jokic and Murray played Jokic and Murray played solid in Game 7, 34 and 35. They didn't shoot well from 3, but I mean, they still tried their best to win the games. They didn't get really any help. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards had a lot of help. Jaden McDaniels, who has been just phenomenal in this playoff run, had 23 points, 7 for 10 from the field. Cat was 8 for 14, had 23 points. Very balanced scoring. Their starting lineup was all positive in the double digits in their plus minus. They did what they had to do in Game 6 and Game 7. They played very well. The Nuggets are a very, very good team at home, only had 8 home losses during the season. And then they lose Game 7 here. Anthony Edwards, overall in the series, was very good. Did not play very good in Game 7, but like I said, he didn't have to. Their defense was able to take over. Naz Reid off the bench was solid with 11 points in Game 7. He's been great all playoff series. They were able to we had talked about Murray. If he had a bad game, they were going to lose. He didn't. It was just Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. had a bad game and just were unable to score, and that just killed their offense. So Timberwolves defense is maybe the best in the NBA, and they got it done again.
All right, we'll move smoothly in here to the NBA Twitter excuses. I mean, the Western Conference Finals, Mavericks and Timberwolves. Luka shot very inefficient or slightly inefficient, 12 for 26 this first game, 3 for 10 from 3. His 3-point shooting is just baffling to me how he can't shoot threes anymore. Like it's truly crazy. I guess the intensity of the playoffs has caught up to him. This is his second Western Conference Finals. So for those of you that count that as a winner, I guess he's a winner. But Kyrie shoots 12 for 23 from the field, 30 points. He was great. PJ Washington, like you said in the last series, Mike was great. 13 points, leads third leading scorer on this team. Gafford, a rebound away from that double-double. So close. So close. He is a hover around 8, 9, 10 points machine, though, for this Mavericks team. And then you get some help off the bench. Derek Lively has been so good for this Mavs team. He's been one of the X factors. He's one of the big reasons they got past OKC, and he's one of the biggest reasons why they won this game. Plus 19, highest plus minus, 4 for 4, didn't miss a shot, gets 11 rebounds, 9 points in just 27 minutes. He was great, played more minutes than Gafford, too. And then for the Timberwolves, they played pretty well. 6 for 16 from Anthony Edwards, and this game was last night, and for some reason, like in my head, I haven't seen the number 6 for 16 yet. And then I remembered we only see those when it's the people that Twitter hates. Is when we see the bad field goal percentages, not their darlings. When we see Ant do it, Cat 6 for 20. I'm not sure how that one slipped under the rug either, but because Cat does get a good amount of hate, but Cat 6 for 20, super inefficient. Jaden McDaniels was great. He might be my favorite player, one of my favorite players on this Timberwolves team. He's just phenomenal. I hated when he chose Washington over Kentucky, and I hate that he eliminated the Suns last round, but he's been so good in the playoffs. You can't deny it. He's been great. Same thing with Naz Reid.
2 rounds ago.
What?
2 rounds ago.
What did I
He
say?
eliminated the Suns 2 rounds ago.
What did I say last round?
He said last round.
Yeah.
All right, 2 rounds ago. Fuck off. Naz Reid also been a super, super, super effective player for the Timberwolves. 15 points. Kyle Anderson, 11 points. The Timberwolves played, role players played really, really well at home like they should. So why did they lose this game, we ask? Your savior went 6 for 16.
True.
His Robin went 6 for 20 from the field. Why that's not being talked about more, I don't know. Credit to the Mavs, but there's no way the Timberwolves should have lost this game. And the reason they lost this game is Anthony Edwards. And if not you guys, but if Twitter and the NBA world isn't ready to admit that, we can wait. But if he doesn't get better, they're going to lose the series and not go to the finals. And I will be blaming him. And I hope that other people will too.
All right, cool.
Said my
Little
piece.
smooth transition into my spiel. I once saw that. Kyle Anderson, his jump shot needs 2-factor authentication.
I saw that.
I saw that today, and I started dying. But regardless, yeah, Ant and Cat were very inefficient and just almost ineffective to a point on the offensive end. Anthony Edwards, he shot 75% of his shots from the 3-point line. That's not how he plays. I think he was just a little tired, which is such a sorry excuse, but I don't know. I'm not even trying to make an excuse, but that's just what it looked like. He looked like he was settling for 3-point jump shots when that's not what he does best.
There you go.
But on the Maverick side, this game it felt like it was Kyrie Irving's show in the first half where he was just masterful from within the arc. And then in the second half, especially in the last 3 minutes, Luka took over and just made it his game. I think it was with like a minute, 10 seconds left. He got that, the tip on the lob attempt to Gobert. And then, we lost Mike, but he got the tip on the lob attempt to Gobert. And then it ended up working its way into his hands again, and then he hit that step back mid-range shot to double the lead from 2 to 4, and then that ended up being the difference maker within the game. So Luka, I've been saying it since our I think mid-season / All-Star break-ish recap or like check in with the NBA that Luka, he's been a plus defender for the Mavs this year, and like you mentioned, Josh, with the Mavs being a very good defensive team so far in the playoffs and especially recently, Luka has definitely been a factor in that. He's a bigger body, and when he actually tries, he can get some really good ball stops. So in this game, when it mattered most, he played some defense, and he got the clutch bucket. He made a couple threes down the stretch, too, that were really important. Big for momentum. You see he's getting hype and shit, but unfortunately, at the end of the first quarter, I think he was yelling at Gafford or something. But regardless, 3 for 10, 3 for 9 if you don't want to count that half-court heave. I think he could definitely be better, but when Luka is on, this Mavs team is going to be very hard to stop. And unfortunately, the Timberwolves are going to have to figure out how to stop them because they don't have guys who can stop both Luka and Kyrie. As we saw, they both had 30.
Well, my thing is, when Luka's played better defense, we haven't been able to see him score the ball as well, at least in the playoffs as a whole. If you are the Mavs, and would you rather be like, all right, Luka, let's see your best defensive effort. We've been the best team we've been in your entire era when you play defense, but you're also shooting wildly inefficient. Do you let him keep playing defense, or do you be like, all right, let's put him in the corner, see if we can save him and see if we can go get 50 a game from him?
I think you just answered your own question because you just said we're the best team in the recent era. I think you choose that one.
Right.
And honestly, if his defense is keeping it close in the end of games, or keeping it close so the end of the game is where he can only focus on offense and then go and get that clutch 3, the clutch midi, the clutch just whatever, the great vision to see a guy in the corner when he's x-ray visioning through 3 Timberwolves defenders. If he's doing that while still being like 10 for 25, yeah, I think I'd take this Luka, the one who's a way better defender, but slightly more inefficient. That doesn't sound right, but I think
you can just say inefficient. He's just been inefficient. Like there's no.
No, he 100% has been, but in comparison to like last year's playoffs,
Yeah.
he's more efficient than last year, but he's a better defender.
And the
I'm
Mavs
taking
can
this
afford to
year's
get away
Luka
with that
last
with
year's
two
Luka
closers too.
with this Mavericks team. Yeah, 100%. Because Kyrie's going to be a dog and he's going to play 40 minutes a game and get you 25 to 35 every night.
Yeah. If he can, hopefully he does. He's gone quiet and hasn't taken a lot of shots at points in the playoffs. He needs to continue to keep shooting the ball. There's no way, and I know he shot a lot of shots in this game one, that he, with the way Luka's playing, that he should be shooting significantly less shots than Luka. That doesn't make any sense to me. If he's shooting a ton of shots and he is efficient, it doesn't really matter what Luka does. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was a
Back to
close
back.
game one. Yeah, somehow. Computer just completely spazzed out. That was weird. But entertaining game one. We saw the Timberwolves down, I think it was 104, 102, and Cat had a putback dunk that was just waved off. I was watching this game with no audio on, so I didn't really hear what the whole thing was. But to me, that looked like it was just a clean putback. I don't know if you guys saw it, but that like a clean
I also
I
putback.
did not
saw
have
it. It was
audio.
close. It was close. I think I would have let it stand, but
Yeah,
maybe that's
and-
just my Pat Mahomes shit being like, hey, it's the moment. But
What did they rule it
I
on the
don't know.
court?
They
ruled
like
it-
let it play, and then they stopped it like a couple seconds later because then they had to call it a goaltend so they could review it, I think. And yeah, I thought it was clean, and that could have completely changed the outcome of this game. I hate when refs step in and do something like that, but the Mavericks were able to pull away after that, win the game.
Could have made a shot, but
Yeah, that's true. But hey, Cat, that was a big play by him. Cat hit a couple, or he hit that one deep three to take the. I think that might have been to take the lead, and then Ant hit a three to extend the lead, but they weren't able to finish. Luka came up big in the fourth quarter. Kyrie dominated the first three quarters. Was the best player on the court. PJ Washington's been solid, like you said. Derek Lively was very good. For the Timberwolves, Jaden McDaniels continues to be their most consistent player. 6 for 9 from three. He's been phenomenal. 9 for 15 from the field, 24 points. He's been very good. Mike Conley did not have a very good game. I didn't talk about in the last round, but that was a game 7 that Mike Conley participated in. He was previously, I think, 0-6 in game 7s. He finally got his game 7 victory, and maybe this will help lead him to a championship. He was 1 for 4 from the free throw line, 1 for 6 from the field. Very unfortunate for Mike Conley there. But the Mavericks
should have retired a while ago.
Mavericks were able to,
Useless.
what, did you lose some money on him or something?
No comment.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
Just know we're taking all of his fucking overs for the rest of or unders for the
Oh,
playoffs.
whoa, we're taking his overs, huh?
No, we're taking all his unders.
oh,
I don't
Over
care
on
if it's
free
under
throw
1.5
percentage.
points. I'm taking the under.
Yeah, but one more big storyline in this game. Timberwolves shoot 11 for 18 from the free throw line. That's 60%. Mavericks shoot 16 for 17, 94%. Free throws are big. They're called free throws for a reason. You got to make them.
Yep, Mike Conley. Talking to you.
Oh my God.
But we'll move on here to the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics Pacers Eastern Conference Finals. We're one game in. Celtics are leading 1-0. Despite the Pacers putting themselves in a position to go win game 1 in Boston, they could not come through due to a late turnover and then Jaylen Brown 3 to take it to OT. And then Tatum having his best quarter of the entire playoffs in overtime of game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So with that being said, I do want to give Tatum credit because he was good. 36 points, led the team in rebounds with 12, led the team in plus minus with 20, plus 20, of course. But the Celtics had a big scare in game 1, and we know how they've been in game 2 so far, these playoffs, having lost both of them so far. Do we have the update on Porzingis yet? Is the question.
I don't.
Sources, Porzingis could return by game 4. He's ruled out for game 2 already. So we'll see. This Celtics team on the defensive end has really struggled in the paint without him. All they have right now is Horford, Cornette, and Hauser. None of the three are rim protectors at all. The two bench bigs, Cornette and Hauser, didn't have blocks in game 1. Al Horford did get 3. That was huge for them. Big reason why they won. But yeah, the lack of rim protection has been a serious problem for the Celtics this entire playoffs without him so far. And when you're playing a team like the Pacers, who has Siakam, who's a great big, Miles Turner, who's a great big, guys like Obi Toppin, who can get to the rim and score at the rim. You got to have somebody who could protect the rim for you. And without Porzingis, they don't have that. So I'd be a little bit worried. But um, they had their wake up call in game one and they had a win. You don't see many wake up call wins in the NBA. And when you could have that, that's obviously a very, very good thing to have. I think the only way they'd be in trouble, assuming Kristaps comes back game four, the only way they could be in trouble, I think, is if they just drop both of these and go down 2-1. If they're up even 2-1, I think they'll be in an all right spot with Porzingis coming back. And of course, if they're up 3-0, they'll be in a great spot. But I like that we got to see the Pacers compete. The sad thing is the Pacers absolutely had to have that one. They definitely should have won that game. And now you have two ways of looking at it. They can either be like, okay, we lost this game, we choked this game away, but now we know that we can compete with this team. I don't care if they won 64 games or not, or whether they were 37-4 at home in the regular season. We can compete with this team. We should have beat them game one on their own home floor, or you can let it be a deflating loss and let it ruin the entire series for you. So we'll see what we get from the Pacers, but I hope they make the series interesting.
Yeah, the Celtics didn't really win this game, in my opinion. The Pacers more so lost. The Pacers were up 117 to 114 with around 10 seconds or maybe a little bit under that left, and they had the ball. They were trying to inbound it to Siakam, but Jaylen Brown just made a hell of a defensive play, tipped it, and Siakam touched it one final time before it went out of bounds. And then we saw Jaylen Brown hit that corner three, got the double bang from Mike Breen. It could lead to a very, very, very pivotal turning point in the series. The Pacers, they should have had it, and as soon as it went to overtime, I had a gut feeling like, yeah, the Celtics got this. It shouldn't have been in overtime in the first place. The Pacers should have been walking out right now with their heads held high, smiles on their face, getting ready for game two. But now the Celtics, they're the better team. They've got the better superstar, and that superstar, Jason Tatum, just showed up, was dominant in that overtime period, and just made it known why he was. I think he was first team All NBA, right? Brunson was second team.
For who? Who was first team All NBA?
Tatum was first team.
Yes.
Brunson was second team. Right?
Yes, correct.
Right. And he proved why he was first team. He's a superstar in this league, top 10 player, and he proved it in this game. Miles Turner was very solid, very efficient. He was 9 for 13. Pascal Siakam, he had a very, very important shots down the stretch, a couple of really tough mid-range shots that I was impressed with that kept extending or just increasing the lead within the final like 3-4 minutes. Tyrese Halliburton wasn't extremely inefficient. I think he was like 6 for 14 from three or something. But I mean, if you're knocking down 6 threes in a playoff game and you're shooting nearly 50%, that's still pretty good. He was doing his part. But again, if you're the Pacers, you have to have that game, especially being on the road. You have to find a way to win that and just not make that crucial mistake at the end. But at least you know you can hang with this team and you can maybe take this next one at Boston, because you almost did it game one. But Boston, like you said, Josh, this could be a wake-up call and make them realize, hey, these guys aren't here to fuck around. They're coming for our throats, so we got to make sure we defend and get them right back.
Yeah, the Pacers, I don't feel like the Celtics as much won this game as the Pacers just lost it, gave the game to the Celtics. I mean, up by three with 30 seconds left. Tyrese Halliburton dribbles the ball off of his foot out of bounds. They get a Jason Tatum miss three. What does Tyrese Halliburton go down the court and do? Turns it over. Jrue Holiday played good defense, turned it over. 2 turnovers there late by Halliburton, who has been very good all season at not turning the ball over. He only had 3 in this game. Pacers had 21 team turnovers, or 21 team turnovers in this game, which is just way too many. Then they get the ball in the inbound, another chance to win the game. And what do? Turn it over again. And Jaylen Brown hits a 3 to tie the game. They let the Celtics back into this game. They should have had it. Jason Tatum played great in that overtime period, but had his moments where he just couldn't hit the big shot. Jrue Holiday was very good in this game, 10 for 16, 4 for 8 from 3, 28 points. But if you're a Pacers fan, you just got to be happy your team's playing this well, but you had to have that game, should have had it. We see the Celtics so far in the first round struggle in game 2. Hopefully the Pacers get that. But just really disappointing loss for the Pacers in a game that you had in both hands.
All right, before we end the pod here, let's do some predictions for what we think is going to happen here with the semifinals. And I'm just going to say my finals as well, because why not at this point? I'm gonna first say what I want to happen, and then I'm gonna say what I think is gonna happen. I want to see Pacers over Timberwolves in the finals. I want to see the Pacers win way more than any of these other teams, like we were talking about before we started recording. But my prediction is Celtics over Mavs. Mavs are too well rounded now. They're playing some defense, and if they can continue to defend, they're a scary team. But I think the Celtics are just built so well. They're great on offense. They have great perimeter defense. Their only weakness so far in the playoffs has been that rim protection, and that's due to not having Porzingis. If he comes back, could stay healthy, I don't see how they don't win the title.
For the West, I think the Timberwolves end up winning in 7. I trust their defense as a whole more than I trust the Mavericks defense. And I think that even with Anthony Edwards and Cat both having just very bad nights shooting wise, they'll have better games, and in those better games, they will probably win. And I think they'll just have better games more often than not. So I trust the Timberwolves defensively to get that done. And then I think the Celtics just win in 6. I think the Pacers may take 1 or 2 before Porzingis comes back, and if he comes back in game 4 or even game 5, uh, he'll kind of just be an extra boost for what the Celtics need to get past a really scrappy team. And I think they take that 1 in 6. But I think the Celtics are the better team as a whole to not match up with the Timberwolves, but just in a matchup regardless, because they've got talent everywhere. They've got great backcourt defense, and they've got the wing scorers that are necessary to win championships. But the Timberwolves, maybe the MJ and Anthony Edwards hype is just getting to my head, but I kind of want to see. I want to see either of the Timberwolves or the Mavericks win if they face the Celtics. Maybe it's just a weird Boston thing. I hope the Celtics lose, but I think they'll probably win. So maybe Celtics in like 7 if it's that in the finals.
For Celtics Pacers, Pacers are pretty good at home. I think they might be able to steal one on the road. Maybe the Celtics steal one in Indy. I'm actually going to go with the Celtics in 7. I can just see the Pacers hanging close and fighting, and then Mavericks Timberwolves. This is a tough one. I like both these teams. The Mavericks have been very good in the playoffs, especially PJ Washington. The other defense has stepped up. I think the Mavericks are going to find a way to beat the Timberwolves. Why not? I think both of you picked the Timberwolves.
I picked the Mavericks.
You picked the Mavs? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick the Mavs versus the Celtics in the finals.
Bro, just want to be different.
I did want to be different because I'm going to be different here. I'll take the Mavs over the Celtics in the finals. Mark Cuban holds it up one more time.
All right, that about does it for this episode of the Engage A podcast. We'll be back next week, maybe recapping these series, maybe just updating you. We do not know how they're going to play out as of now. But until next time, hit all the links in our description for our Spotify, TikTok, social media, and all of that good stuff. And we will see everybody in the next one.